Yes, now, and welcome back to episode 80 of the Top Loaded podcast. And this week we are joined by a very, very special guest, obviously ahead of his maiden voyage into the card show world. I've not been practicing that pun all day, but is the one, the only Martin. Obviously, a lot of you know him by CardSails, but Martin, how are you doing, my friend?
Very well, very well. Thank you for having me.
So it was had to be happen. We've been I'm in an hour in getting you on, but then when we see the Southampton card show was coming up, it made total sense. Obviously, the sports only Southampton card show, I should definitely add into
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Well, it was something that I've been toying with for quite a while, and then yeah, I ended up having the summer off from work because my work's on yachts, so I had the summer off, and I thought, well, let's do something with it and find myself a little side project, and now it's morphed into something incredible.
I was going to say, for a lot of people who don't know, but if they do follow obviously your socials, you have had quite a lot of experience as well traveling over to the States for shows, and obviously UK as well. So you've seen both sides of the pond, so to speak. So do you think that's quite as well? What quite nice when planning this Southampton one that you've had experience of what the shows are like both sides because they are very different depending if it's in the States or obviously in the UK.
Yeah, they're very different. There's obviously the similarities, but going to Dallas at the start of the year, that was like the really big eye opener. The show is huge in itself, but the fact that it's hosted in a hotel like Southampton will be, the trade nights they're just in the hotel lobby till 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. It's insane, and it's not like one or two people walking through. They're full until 2 o'clock in the morning. 3 o'clock makes no difference to them.
Yeah, so obviously your
So,
first show is
so
obviously the 30th of September, which is not too far away at all. It's no doubt by the time you even blink, it will be the 30th. But obviously, for people who don't know, whereabouts is it located within Southampton itself? Because sometimes with shows, it says like a name or a place, but it's slightly on the outskirts. But how about for the Southampton one?
we're actually at the Novotel Hotel, which is part of the Accor complex. So there's a Novotel, an Ibis, and an Ibis budget, which was good for me because I wanted there to be hotel options for various varying budgets. But it's about 3 4 minute walk from Southampton Central train station. Also, right next to there is the bus station. It's down by West Keys, so it's very accessible for if you're driving down. The links, I honestly think it's probably the most accessible show in the country so far.
Yeah, I think that's been the major one. Obviously, when we've had different shows on in the past, it's about getting there. That's the main thing. But obviously, like you say, having the hotel option right next door as well for the different budgets, it sounds great. And obviously, I've seen a lot of videos, like you say, from Dallas, Burbank, and all that. And it's all about that experience of people just coming together. And I know when you done one of the first lives actually showing us around the venue, that was one of the core aspects that I heard you talk about was at the end of the day, it is about the community that will be going to the show, whether it's vending or buying, or even just being there to be a part of the hobby.
Yeah, I mean, and it's developed as a little bit of a tagline in my head that it's good cards, great people. Because for me, the hobby is exactly that. It is a hobby. I'm quite active, I think, in a way in the community. I try to be. I try to you know pass on knowledge or offer advice. The number of times I get asked how much is this card worth, but I won't tell somebody what I think it's worth. I'll show them where they can find for themselves. I don't want to hold knowledge to myself. So building the community, building the hobby, pushing everything forwards is the main thing. The biggest thing I hope will happen is that everyone's talking, everyone's chatting. It's one of the biggest things, whether it's a London show, a Brighton show, any others that I've attended. I'm always talking to people. I've been to Chantilly, and I've got a couple of really close friends now in the hobby from just chatting to them in Chantilly. The same with Dallas. There's a couple of guys, and I talk to them every couple of days, just shooting the beep about different things that are going on. So we're that's what I'm looking for. It's about the community. This isn't a business venture for me. I'm not looking to retire and do this. This is what I get out of it, I want to put back in. So there are of course costs as there are with everything, and if those are covered, then I'll look to do something to give back more.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic to hear like the stories going behind it, because obviously a lot of people think about what goes on behind the scenes because for example, for me, I've not have a clue where to start with anything. I know how to show up and that's about it, but in terms of this show, obviously going around like the vending tables, for example, I know obviously before you set up a show, you don't know how it's going to go, but how did it go in terms of actual sales for the vendors tables? So I know that's what some people are always concerned about, is actually getting them tables filled so people can have the cards to look at.
Well, yeah, I mean, 3 weeks, just under 3 weeks until the show now, and do I feel like I know how to set a show up? Not at all. I mean, even after this show, but it's all a learning process, and that's one of the big things with me, and it has been through my work life, is I'll always ask questions if I'm unsure about something and I want to learn. Yes, I might make a mistake along the way, but I'll try and learn from that, and everything is a learning experience. As for the vendors, I mean, the response that I had has been fantastic. We've got 37 individual vendors, over 70, I think it's 72 tables. It's a huge response, and I'm grateful for everyone who's turning up. I know that a few aren't able to, who want to. I'm looking at ways that I can increase the vendor tables maybe for the next show. But it's difficult. It's difficult because you obviously have the limitations of the venue size.
Yeah,
one of the big things that I wanted to have, though, was tables with showcases and value boxes. It's one of the things that I take away from the shows in the States, is the value boxes are insane, and they're a lot of fun. And just showcases. So this time we've got 3 companies on board. We've got Sports Trading Cards UK, the Grading Club, and then sponsors of the Trade Night, Third Down displays. So and that's it. I don't want to have the big companies taking up half of the show, half of the venue. I want it to be, the community and the UK community.
So when we watch a lot of videos from the set, I know you've just touched on there, that they have such a good wide range of. You see Ryan, I think it's the perfect example with his content and card clip. He will have spend the same amount of time. He'll look at a showcase and be like, right, really, but then he'll go like the massive tables you see are just full of the flip through boxes. It's such a great aspect. See, it caters for everyone, and that's the best thing I think as well. Is no matter if you're in the hobby for however many thousands, or you've just started with a 5, them boxes are available for you, and you could find that needle in the haystack, or it could even be a card for the rainbow. Anything can be found in them boxes, and I think like what you're saying, it's such a good thing to be able to. You don't know what that next card's going to be.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, obviously looking for soccer, it's a little bit in the States. It's not quite as plentiful, but then you start looking through and you see some of the designs, like some of the old NFL and NBA designs. The players might be absolutely, who the hell is that? But the card designs, the way the patches are cut out. There's 4 or 5 that spring to mind that are just such cool designs. And hopefully, I've said to all the vendors for Southampton that I'd really like if they can put a value box up, or a couple of value boxes. That'd be really appreciated, because I think it is a huge part that we don't embrace as much as we should in the UK. We're looking to sell a lot of slabs, a lot of singles, and those 50p cards, those £1 cards, that they need to be embraced as well. So people who are building sets, people who are like true collectors, they can build it. I mean, how many base Gabrielles have you got? Or I'm sure everyone sends you one in every package that you ever have.
I've actually got to the side of me. I remember I was doing the Burnt Leno Rainbow from Prism, and I once counted it because I was just intrigued. And I think I was at about 160 of them, because everyone was like, "Oh, you collect Leno? I'll put a few in." I'm like, "Oh my god, I don't need." So I was thinking about, like, I was thinking I could just wallpaper my room with it. It'd be great. I wouldn't have to do it.
That'd be scary to wake up to in the morning, though. But yeah, I mean, and something at Southampton that I'm doing for all the kids who are coming in, and obviously they're the next generation of collectors and next generation of enthusiasts, is I'm going to put out a 5-row box of random. There'll be base, a few refractors, a few inserts, and then any kids who come get a team bag, and they're more than welcome to flick through and pick out a few of their favorite players or their favorite team, and just to get them involved. And then it doesn't cost mum and dad 30 quid for a slab or 200 quid for a slab. They've got something there, and just get some into the enjoyment of going through a value box and a flick through box.
I think that's what we see in the States a lot. It's we see the kids walking around, and some of them got unbelievable collections. But what it teaches kids as well, within not even just the hobby, but in life in general, of like collecting, negotiating, talking with people, is such a good asset for them to have, and it's such a good thing you're going to bring in, that it actually encourages kids as well, that if they go along, they will get stuff for going, because it's, with everything going on, like we say, it's a very expensive hobby, and for people, even people with day-to-day jobs, it's very hard with it now because of the cost of living and everything like that. Just the little bits that people can do to help the younger generation is so key, I think, now and going forward with how everything in life is looking at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. I've had a couple of cards that you've been interested in, and if it's someone who's a collector of a team, of a player. I mean, if it's Haaland or if it's Mbappe, Messi, well, that's another matter. But someone like Gabriel or Xhaka, if I've got something that's a bit special, and you're a collector of them, then I'm willing to let things go at whatever it's cost me, because that's what it's about. It's getting the right cards in the hands of the people who really enjoy them. I don't want to be one of those guys who just tries to skin everyone. And there are some out there, but they and more power to them. But I just don't feel right doing it myself.
Yeah, like I say, obviously you've got quite a nice range. Before we talk about like different vendors or turning, but obviously Third Down is another exceptional one. They've been at every show, obviously great stand. But it's great to have like there are a few companies there. Like you say, it doesn't overpopulate it, but it gives people that they need to buy wax, they've got a place to go. So you get your opinion on grading, so submit stuff, got a place to go. And obviously if you need any protection there and then, or card displays there. So was that your kind of philosophy going into it? Like, have just enough there that like the major categories were covered, that and then it's not too much that it obviously, like you've referred to before, it dilutes like the rest of the stalls and obviously the showcases flick throughs.
Yeah, I mean that was exactly it. Also, Third Down are doing a card cleaning and grading preparation service. So there's some blemishes that if you've watched any videos on IG, it's amazing what can happen now. So they're offering that. So the idea was you buy your wax from Sports Trading Cards UK, the wax vendor of the show. You take it to Third Down, they'll give it a cleanup, or you take it to the grading club. They say, oh, there is this issue. You take it to Third Down, they give it a cleanup, take it back to the grading club, and they say, oh, yep, this one will be good to go. So that was very much in my mind. And also the vendors, they're, you know, there'll be one or two boxes sprinkled around here and there, but you know, another vendor, Football Cards Direct, they're taking 6 tables, and they reckon they're going to have 2,000 cards per table. They're just doing slabs and value boxes. They've said, look, we understand Sports Trading Cards UK are the vendor for wax for the show. We'll just bring singles and flick throughs, which is incredible, and also it shows their understanding as well.
Yeah, I remember them from the last London card show. They're such a wide range of cards as well. It's fantastic. Like, it's near enough every team or player that is imaginable has a card. You will find it in some sorts there, and I think, like you say, they've understood it so well that it's so hard at shows. I've known for personal, some of my PCs are needle in haystacks, Xhaka, I would say Gabriel, even like Arsenal women cards, that if someone's not bringing that whole wide range, you've got no chance. And there's nothing worse than you looking around a card show and you're like, I want to get something, but I can't find it. To have them come along with, like you say, so many cards, it should help so many people, whether it's set building, if it's rainbow building, or even just seeing a nice card that they think, oh, actually, you know what? I've seen that now. I might get it. It brings so much to someone's day, and especially, I can no doubt, like the younger generation are going in there as well. They'll have a field day looking through that amount of cards, trying to find the one player or whoever it is.
No, exactly, and again, it's that bit of joy that you find when you find that card, and this is why, you know, it was so important to have so many showcases and so many value boxes on offer, because some people's collections are needle in a haystack, but hopefully there'll be something for everyone, and everyone finds something.
Yeah, so I've been speaking to a few guys that have set it up there. Obviously, a good friend of the podcast, Sorry Cards, actually sent out his first show, but he was, even like you saying, he was talking to quite a lot of people, and there's a wide range, because you sometimes get a show where it's near enough all just modern cards, but he spoke to a few people bringing vintage along, pre-modern.
Yeah.
So is that a something as well that you're going to look forward to? Is having that wide range? Because I'm not a massive collector of vintage, but seeing some of it on offer, it's like history in your hands. It's so good to see.
No, that's exactly it, and it's all about variety. You know, there are a limited number of vendors in the UK, and there's 5, 6, 7 who are first-time vendors, and you know, it's an opportunity for them to see what they've got, what they can show, what, you know, and it's a developmental for everyone, and just variety. That was the key. I don't want everyone to have 22, 23 Topps Chrome UCL and just have showcases full of that. That's not the aim. The aim is to have, you know, the variety of everything, and all things that you don't see every day. That I really hope that there's things you don't see every day. We've got Josiah, South Jersey Sports Cards. He's flying over from the States for the show to set up for one day, and he says that he's buying heavy. So and I know that there's 4 or 5 other vendors who as well. They're looking to put some liquidity into the room. I'll be doing as much as I can, as I always do. I'm gonna have a couple of tables, but obviously I'm not sure how long I'll be able to spend at the table each hour. But I'll do my best to get through things, and maybe put a bit of liquidity into the room. It's one of the biggest feedbacks from Burbank is that Burbank Card Shop, they're buying, and it's not going to be 100% comps, but but if it's something you want to move, it's not really, doesn't fit my PC, I've held on to it for too long, let's get out of it. Because £100 card, if you get 75 quid for it, you can do a lot more damage with 75 quid than a card that you can't move or that you don't want. So yeah, liquidity in the room is going to be a big thing. So, but there's definitely going to be some buying going on.
Yeah, I think that's a massive thing that everyone takes away from shows, is that obviously you're never going to get the price for it. But how I always see it, say if you've got a random card laying around, like you say, you can get 100 for it, or I can go and walk around a card show with 75 quid, say for example, might be able to go and buy 3 cards, and you're going to want them 3 cards more than the card that you've got to get rid of. So it's always good to see, and I think that's always great as well when you see people when they bring content, is like what you can actually do at a show. You can go into a show with 10 cards. You could leave with one massive card, or you could come back out with 150 cards. There's so many ways around the hobby, and that's what I think is great as well when there is liquidity at a show.
Yeah, I mean, it's trading up, trading down. Everyone's going to be trading. Everyone's going to be trading. Everyone's going to be doing all the things that we do at shows, and I want it to be a more US style show than some of the UK ones that we've seen so far. Not that there's anything wrong with the UK shows, I should throw that caveat in there, but I think there's development, and because I'm not doing it as a purely commercial venture, I've got a little bit more freedom. I'm not looking to I want to cover costs, and then I can invest the money in the show in different ways. And that for me is a big thing as well.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect intro as well. So obviously talk about the trade night, which is obviously, as we've said before, held by a good friend's third down space. But was that a key aspect for you when you was thinking about setting up this show, that there was a trade night involved? And obviously, like we say, where you've had these shows in America and it's all tied in with like the hotel, that this was like the perfect way to not even just trial it in the UK, but actually to get in front, because vendors can't walk around as much as they want to at shows. So having that time slot where people will just be talking, having a drink, whatever it is, having a bit of food, and then going around buying, selling, trading, that's, you get a lot more deals done. And actually you get to meet a lot of people as well at these trade nights and just learn about their PCs, what they collect, and what their overall goals are within the hobby.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't think at the moment that you can have a show without a trade night. It's just such a huge part. I've been very lucky because the venue are very, very accommodating. So the show opens at 9 for early entry, then 10 for general admission. We've got a loose closing time of 4. I mean, it can be pushed to 4:30. The venue's not, they're not saying, right, you must be finished by this time. We've got to move about 30 tables, and then I'm thinking 5:30 will be open again for the trade night, and then if it goes on till 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, it's fine. They're not putting time limitations on anything. They're happy as long as people are happy, they're happy. So big shout out to Novotel Hotel in Southampton. So we could have 4 or 5 hours of trade night. Everyone gets to chat. I'm working on getting the football up on the TVs in there. There's a bar in the conference room, the function room. So that'll be open. We can have a couple of beers, watch the TV. trade some cards, and just have a good time. And again, I keep on going back to it. We just build the community. We build that feeling of community, which is just so important.
Yeah, I feel like, especially with trade nights, and a lot of people could be very tentative before, if might never have been to one before, they might feel like it's not really their place. But it's such a good place, a trade night, because it's so much more relaxed than a show. You're literally sitting there, you're going up to people talk. So, would you have any advice for anyone who's potentially considering, it might be their first ever trade night, or there might have been five? Is there any advice that you'd give someone going to a trade night, or actually they might be swaying between going or maybe not going?
Oh, just go to talk to people. Don't be afraid. Just, hey man, how's it going, and how was your day? And just that, it just opens up a conversation. Don't take anything that you don't want to trade. So if you've got something that something a bit special, somebody will offer you an offer that could be too hard to turn down. So I'd certainly say that. And also, it doesn't happen very much, but just if you're not happy, if you're not comfortable, then there's no harm in saying, you know what, I'm not happy with that, and turning things down. There's no pressure. You can walk around the trade night 3-4 times. I did it at the last London show. I walked around the trade night maybe 3 times, and then I thought, right, I like that. That's caught my eye, and got a few bits done. But don't feel pressured that you have to do anything, because again, it's a hobby, it's a community. You'll gain, the contacts that you gain are just fantastic. Equally, don't try and cook everyone that you meet. You know, I'm sure there's probably a couple of sharks out there who see it as an opportunity, but you know, it gets around. People understand, people talk, and you know, get a good reputation, get a fair reputation, and amazing things happen.
I think that's the main thing, is create the connections at these shows, because if in the future you might be thinking about, oh, I'm not going to go to that show because I'm not going with someone. But if you know, I've said this to a lot of people now, that I actually talk to. I know you referred to it before about the different shows that you've been, but you generally do talk to people in the hobby more times than you do people that you've known for years outside the hobby. And it's sometimes can be down to as simple as someone's doing a story sale and then they just forward it on to you. That's a perfect example. I get it all the time, and I do it to people. People do it to me. That you create this community that everyone looks out for each other. They might see a card pulled in a break and they'll send it to you to see what you think. And it's just such a nice position. I've had it before, lucky enough, that I was chasing a few cards for a rainbow and someone see them pop up wherever it was in the world. And they was like, you might want to
Yeah.
It's just such a fantastic feeling, because you know you can help people out, but it's such a close-knit group that people might think, oh, it's hard to get into. It just come and say hello to people, because every single person in this hobby loves talking about the hobby.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking before, and I've done a couple of lives with Aaron from the Grading Club, and we said, yeah, we'll just do a quick half hour, 45 minutes. The shortest one's been 2 hours, because we can go on tangents, we can talk until the cows come home. I mean, my voice box, my vocal cords at the end of a London show, they're like, oh, thank God for that, because it is just it's non-stop. But you know, there's a lot, and I just want to talk about what I enjoy so much, and cards is it. And you know, I remember collecting stickers as a kid, and that was great, and there is this nostalgia that comes back to it. But these bits of cardboard are something else, and I don't know if it comes through, but I do just love it. And going again, we were talking about you said about people you talk to. I mean, Grails by Gus. I met him at the UK card show at the Tottenham Stadium a couple of years ago, and I probably talked to him as much as I talk to my wife. And I find our conversations more interesting. But yeah, if you can edit that bit out. But yeah, we just get on really well. We think alike in many ways. We've got a lot of the same interests, and you know, probably one of my best friends, not only in the hobby but in general. Pat as well, Card King UK. You know, when my son was born, he was like the fourth or fifth person that I told. You know, there's just connections you make, and people you hit it off with, and it's just a great community. It really is.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing, is what everyone says. It's a lovely community, and especially what's being built within the UK as well. It's going stride to stride, that every person that comes along into it just gets adopted into it, and then you progress. They hopefully bring more people into it. We've seen it firsthand at shows where it might be one person, but next time they bring two of their mates, and then them two are in the hobby. It just snowballs. Yeah. It's great, and like everyone knows someone in the hobby. It's been quite funny sometimes. You get the inception of outside of it, where someone's like, "Oh, I was looking at trading cards the other day. I was talking to this person." You'd be like, "Oh yeah, I know them," and then they'll be like, "Yeah." Wow, I went. Trust me, anyone in the hobby, people just talk to. It's great, and they're like, "You sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah." But that's what we're saying at like a London card show. It's something, because when we get it over the tannoy, it's closing in 5 minutes, and then when it says close, you hear this, oh. And everyone's voices is get that 5-minute break until you end up in the pub or wherever it is, talking more, refreshing before the card night, trade night. Sorry. So it's such a fantastic place to be, the hobby, and I think that's the perfect into it. Obviously, before we talk, obviously a little bit more about yourself as a collector, because obviously you've been in the game for a while as well. A lot of people do follow on to what you say, especially the lives with Aaron, and I think obviously as a collector, we're talking about the collectors, like, people might not know potentially what your PC. Obviously, quite a few people know a certain collection that you do collect, but obviously, for you as a person in the hobby, what do you like to collect? Not even what you like to collect, what you like to look at and actually just follow as well, because that's sometimes more time consuming than actually what you're buying.
Well, I definitely, you know, I do both sides of things. I started out, I was entering a lot of breaks. I came to the realization that that if you wanted to make money, you do singles. But I do flip quite a lot of singles. I've just got a package, came in tonight with about another 200 cards. But I flip them in order to fund my PC, which I think as everyone who's ever seen a post from me or met me knows, are the 2020-21 fusions from finest use prize footballers. I don't know what it is about the card. I think because it's a Jude rookie year, that plays a massive part of it. It's Messi's last year in Barcelona, Camavinga's rookie year. It was just such a great year, and it was, although it was the first year of COVID, it was the first year that the hobby really took off in the UK, I think. So I had that. I did have a PC of, well, I still have a PC of Renato Sanchez, the Portuguese midfielder. I just thought from the Euros in 2016, have I got that right? Yeah, 16, 18. Jeepers. Which, no, the year Portugal won. Anyway, he was just an absolute beast. He was like 17, 18 years old, bossing games. I'm not quite sure what happened after that, and so I'm kind of cooling down. I think I've got about 50, 60 of his autos and different cards. I pick one up now and again. I've got a few nice, to 10 autos from National Treasures and different bits. But no, the Fusions are definitely my main PC. And now Bournemouth are back in the Premier League. That's my hometown team. I'm picking up a lot of Lewis Cook and Dom Solanke. Any Bournemouth cards, but those two are my main ones. So, you know, I will buy anything if there's a margin to be able to flip it. But then that money that I flip it for, it goes towards you know, a Rashford fusion, or maybe even if I flip enough, then it'll go towards a Jude fusion. So there's something that I say to people, oh, I'm trying to collect all of them, and they say, oh, one of each player, and I'm like, no, all of each player. So, you know, the blue red are numbered to 45. I want all 45 for each of the 20 players in the set. There's no, I don't do things by half measures. If I'm gonna do it, I'm both feet and off we go. So yeah, so fusions, Bournemouth and Renato Sanchez for the PCs.
Yeah, it's lovely. I always like seeing people's different PCs, because you always see there's like one so-called on a pedestal that's like the main focus, and you get a couple just underneath it where it's like,
Yeah.
like for example, Renato Sanchez. It's such a nice PC to have something like that you see a card, you're like, I'm not interested in picking up everything. Oh, that's a nice one. I'll pick that one up. Or I see that one. It's always nice to have that kind of aspect as well, that you always have the number one collection, the one player, or the rainbow. But sometimes you just see a nice card and you're like, wow, that is like a very nice. I think the perfect example is probably Bournemouth as well. That in comparison, say an impeccable card like stainless steel, you probably get a nice gold to 10 for a reasonable amount. Whereas if you compare it to a player of Man City, you're probably looking 10 times as much. So you're getting exactly the same looking card, but a fraction of the price, and it's still aesthetically beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, there's 4 or 5 big Bournemouth fans in the hobby, and you can always see when 2 or 3 of us take a fancy to a card, because suddenly a Dom Solanke out of 10, instead of going for 8 or 10 quid, suddenly it's 30 quid. But that again, that's a PC. If you really want the card really as your PC, then maybe you might have to spend a bit more than you really want to. But no, it's a great PC. If I do say so myself. It's not the most expensive. We're not the most expensive team to collect. Sadly, this year there's been a lack of autos because they've all been taken up by Chelsea and Arsenal. But next year, when we're in our 3rd year in the Prem, hopefully we get a few more.
Yeah, I think especially for me, I've got a few. Obviously, for Xhaka is my main one, but then when you start picking up, I have D'Angelo Russell as an NBA player, and I'm like, I'm not interested in, like, but you see a nice patch. That's such a good idea. But obviously, on this podcast, we do like talking about recent news, and there's been a few bits happening within the hobby. Obviously, we're waiting a lot more on releases now. It's that kind of quieter period now where we're in between seasons, so it's going to be tops to start bringing out on demand stuff soon. But obviously, the main talking point, obviously, we did see a post from yourself last week about Klarna. Obviously, we'll both talk about this one briefly. Just intriguing to see your perspective on it, because from how I was looking at it, originally when I see the announcement that Whatnot was using Klarna, I was anticipating it was just on wax and single cards, and I was going to be like, it's not too much difference really, because you're just buying an asset. So, for example, I've got this Kim Little card here. If this Kim Little card, okay, fair enough. But obviously, when you're talking to breaks, it is a gambling aspect to it that it can be quite dangerous, especially, sadly, some people can't do anything about it, and it's just something that they're trying to live with at the moment, that obviously they find support with. But how was your initial reaction when you did see the Klarna announcement on behalf, well, Whatnot's announcement about Klarna?
Well, again, I kind of thought that it was on products, and you know, I know that they do a lot of fashion and fishing and different bits on there, and so you're buying equipment, or maybe you are buying slabs from a Whatnot show. It's the breaking part of it. Now, a lot of people will say, well, is a breaker really going to care as long as their brake fills? But that for me is why breakers are getting the bad reputation, because they shouldn't just care about whether it fills or not. A bookmaker won't let you go in and pay for a bet on Klarna, and I don't want to go too deep into it in many ways, but it's effectively the same thing. You can be, and I've done it. I've spent 200-300 quid on a spot in a break, and I've got like 2 base cards. It's breaking needs to happen to get product open.
Yeah.
The problem is that the return on investment is so low that it makes it very difficult to be fully supportive of it. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some great breakers out there, and I know several who they only break in order to fund their PC. But I also think that Whatnot is such a huge company. They're multi-billion-dollar company, and so we have to hold them to a little bit of a higher standard. And putting people in debt to break doesn't feel for me like it will push the hobby forwards. Hobby is about sustainability and organic growth. It's not about, right, we'll take some profit short term, and then we'll move on from there. We'll worry about 6 months time in 6 months time. It's And I mean, I've been there as well. When I was younger, I used to go to the pub with 30-40 quid, have a couple of pints, 20 quid in the fruit machine, and then I was like, oh well, that's my money gone. If I could do that on breaks at that time, I'd be a little bit worried for where I am now. And there's also the point that big breakers in the UK who already accept Klarna, and they also accept credit cards, and Whatnot accept credit cards. I'm not someone who can get behind breaking or gambling on credit. And also, once a few people start defaulting, it's going to put more spotlight on it.
Yeah.
Then we've got all with the bookmakers at the moment that you can only put a £2 bet on at a betting terminal. That's because there wasn't the oversight and there wasn't the rules in place. It's only a matter of time before those rules start to trickle in, especially, and they'll come quicker if we go down this path than if you've got the money, then you can do it. But please just don't get into debt for breaking. It's really unlikely you're gonna get your money back out.
Yeah, I think it's like we say, it's always been a very murky / grey area around the rules and regulations of breaking, whatever platform it's been on. And it's one of them that slowly, with more knowledge being spread across the UK and around the world in general, that rules and regulations will be brought up to speed of what's going on. I know there's been massive things in other parts of the world in terms of even like buying virtual credits on FIFA and games like that, for example, has been considered gambling in certain countries around the world. And it's like we say, if that's $1 billion industry run by massive companies, and that's still grey area murky, that we will slowly get there. But like we say, the most important thing is, at the end of the day, never. It's very hard to say. We've all been in the position in the hobby where we've been into breaks, and then you've went into another one trying to cover the loss of the first couple. It's just, don't ever be afraid to reach out to someone for advice as well. There is people out there, and the links will be below as well, that you can read. And I think especially, as we say, with certain bookmakers as well, they're very prominent now because of the regulations about where to go for support and stuff that you can put in place, like spending limits and stuff like that, which could be down the line a very good thing for platforms to bring in. But like we say, it's just please don't ever. It's very easy to say on this part when we're not doing it, but don't chase the loss and don't do something that you haven't got, because like we say, very easy if you've got a credit card there with whatever limit is on there. Or you know what, I get paid in a couple of weeks, let me do it. But then that mindset can snowball and just don't want it to get out of hand.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I was brought up, my family, thankfully, were very much, if you want something, save for it. If you want something, work for it. There's only two types of debt that you are acceptable, and that's a mortgage, and if it's like an interest-free credit on a car. But if you're not getting interest-free credit on the car, save up and then get it. You know, being liquid in your life, being and it's not. I mean, I'm quite lucky with my work and everything that I'm able to do what I'm able to do, but it's been a lot of hard work and a lot of years to get here. And it's very easy for me to say not everyone's as lucky as I have been in my life. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough, and you know, fair play to Whatnot as well. I've got a meeting with them next week, where I'm going to raise my concerns, and you know, I'd like there to be an option where maybe a breaker can turn the Klarna option off if they ethically feel that it's not right, or there's spending limits are bought in for payment on Klarna. But yeah, it was a sad day, and it was a bit of a dark day.
Like we say, it's good to know that they've reached out. And like we say within the hobby as well, that stuff does get done when people raise their opinions, and it does fall out, so to speak, because that's what the hobby's so good for. Is everyone be talking about, and obviously now they know that something's got to be done / work around it. So hopefully, like we say, definitely on the podcast, whenever there's any news further down the line from Whatnot, we'll bring it to you. But obviously, turn it back round to the show just as we finish off. So obviously now we are, as of recording this, it's about 19 days off, give or take, the Southampton Card Show, which by the time you know it, you'll be walking into the venue. But obviously, for anyone who hasn't yet bought their tickets or anything, obviously, I still believe there's tickets available. So any recommendation, like where should they go? Obviously, I know the Instagram page, but where to go for the tickets?
Well, there's a link on the Instagram page, which is Southampton Card Show, or at Southampton Card Show. There's a link to the Eventbrite. So all attendee tickets are available on there. We have there's like 2 early entry tickets are still available. Show opens at 9 for early entry, 10 for general admission, and then we'll be closing down around 4:30 to get ready for the trade night. Everything's available on Eventbrite, like I say, and then there'll be more information available on the Instagram page. Once this show's over, then we'll probably be looking at doing another show in the spring. If it really goes well, I'm probably going to push it to be a 2-day show. So then we have that feel of staying in the hotels and doing we can do a trade night till 2:00 in the morning if we want to. It's not out of the realms of possibility. But yeah, 30th of September, Southampton Sports Card Show. It's I can't believe it's just so close, so close.
Yeah, and like we say, it's going to be a good day down in Southampton. Obviously, from me, and sadly Harry couldn't join us out, we wish you the best of luck for this show, and hopefully, obviously, as you say, that for future Southampton Card shows yet to come. But no doubt we'll be seeing a lot of interaction on social medias that day, because I know a lot of the guys going down are very good at showing what's going on. And obviously, if you are considering, obviously all the links will be down below to find out more information of where it is, how to buy tickets, everything like that. But like we say, Martin, thank you ever so much for joining us on the Top Loader podcast. more than welcome to always come on wherever you want, because I know there's always a conversation to be had. Maybe we'll bring Aaron on next time. We'll probably just do like a live stream for 24 hours, because no doubt we'll never stop.
Yeah, the two of us can talk it up, that's for sure. That's for sure. It's been an absolute pleasure, Ronnie. Thank you so much for having me on.
As we say, all the links are down below, and please do, if you can, get down to the Southampton Card Show, obviously Saturday, 30th of September, and hopefully you'll be able to pick up some nice bits for your PC or even just meet new people. But until next time, I hope everyone is buying, selling, trading, and all that good jazz. But most importantly, happy hobbying and good night.